My grandma, she gave someone a second chance in life. Her church, they were looking for volunteers for their adult literacy program. So they were looking for volunteers for adults who would teach other adults to read. And my grandma, she had that same reaction that all of us have when we're asked to do something that is outside of our comfort zone. And that's kind of like panic. She had told me that she thought to herself, I'm not a professor, I'm not a lecturer, I'm not qualified to do that. But after she learnt that they had no other volunteers at all for the program, she had thought, well, probably a little bit of help from me is better than no help. Her first pupil, he couldn't read his own name. He couldn't read his wife's name, and he couldn't read the name of his newborn baby girl. He didn't have a driver's license, because to get a driver's license, you have to be able to pass a written test. And not having a driver's license, that meant that he couldn't get a promotion at his already poorly paid job. The first time that he turned up at her house, she had thought to herself, what have I gotten myself in for? But she was determined. She had said that she would teach him to read, and that is what she would do. So a whole year passed, and at the end of that year, he got that driver's license. And my grandma, she was the first person in his entire life to have taken an interest or had been excited about his education. And it was super inspiring to see. And my grandma, she actually, very sadly for me and my family, she passed away in February this year. And at her funeral, there were a number of these people that she had educated. And these people, they were not just her pupils. These people had become some of her very closest friends. And what an incredible legacy to have left, to have given these people, her friends, a second chance in life. And when I was at school and at university, just like my grandma had, I used to see people who were struggling, and I used to think maybe I should do my bit. And I would meet up with these students, and we would work through one-on-one each week, whatever would be the most helpful for them. And just like my grandma, I wasn't a professor or a lecturer, and I felt like I wasn't really qualified to do that. And I would get that same sense of panic that I would be asked a question that I didn't know the answer to, or that, God forbid, I might teach them the wrong thing. But research done by the Ministry of Education here in New Zealand tells us that for every 5 students, 4 of those students have no one at all to help them with their homework. Imagine that, 4 out of every 5 students have no one to help them with their homework. So for the people that I was helping, even though I'm not perfect, a little bit of help from me is a lot better than no help. But I started to be asked to help their friends and their friends' friends. And as you all know, there's only so many hours in a day. And as much as I wanted to help all of these students, I just couldn't. And I started to develop a burning question, and that was, who was going to help the thousands of students in our country that have no one to help them with their homework? I got together with the best person that I know, and that's Dave Cameron. And we repeated ourselves over and over again to different groups of students. And then after a while, we had a bit of an epiphany, which is, why don't we just record ourselves on video? And that way, our tutorials can be watched by any student at any time from anywhere in the country. We kept our focus quite narrow initially, so we just focused on Year 11 maths. And the idea was that we recorded 20 videos, and if you had been to no classes all year, we would start from scratch. It was fine. We would teach you everything that you needed to know. We put it on a website, and we called that website LearnCoach. The website went live 6 weeks before the maths exam. So 2 weeks passed, and 70 students signed up to our website. We were stunned. It was awesome. That meant that the groups of students that we were teaching had gone online, and they had told their friends to also go online and watch maths videos. And then over the next 4 weeks, 3,500 students signed up to our website. That meant that the groups of students that we were teaching, who had told their friends, had then also told their friends, who told their friends to go online and watch maths videos. For me, it was the first insight that I'd really had into how technology can break those barriers of time and geography. We were teaching students at opposite ends of the country, but at the time that suited each of those students the most. Without even realizing it, we had done a couple of things right. So firstly, we had designed our tutorials to be specific. Because as you know, in the information age that we live in, when we have Siri and we can ask Siri anything and get an answer literally within seconds, it's not just access to information that's important. The hard part, as you know, is searching through that magnitude of information that's available online and trying to work out what the heck is relevant and what isn't. And secondly, we had designed our tutorials to be flexible. These were not one-time tutorials delivered by your teacher at 10:30 a.m. on a Monday morning. These were not tutorials delivered by teachers who, through no fault of their own, have less than 2 minutes of teaching time on average per student each day. These were tutorials that could be watched at any time of the day or the night. These were tutorials that could be watched from anywhere in the world, from the dining room table, from a hospital bed, from a youth detention centre. These were tutorials that could be paused and that could be re-watched as many times as was necessary, without having to feel stupid and without having to worry if your friends thought that it was lame or not to be studying. But what I've learned since then is that access to flexible, specific learning alone, that's actually not enough. Let's use myself and my friend as an example. So let's say we both start out at school together, but my friend, she's really smart, she just sails through, she enjoys it, and she passes everything. And then at the end of year 13, she leaves with full school qualifications. But for me, even though I start out here at the same point that she does, for me it's hard, and it's not really my thing. And I don't really enjoy it, and at the end of year 10, I decide to leave. And I have no qualifications. So research done by Statistics New Zealand tells us that compared to my friend, I will have half the average job options that she has. I will have half the average income that she has. And it is twice as likely that I will be unemployed. You see, those pieces of paper that she has, those qualifications that she has that I don't, your life is very different if you have them versus if you don't. For me, I wouldn't be allowed to go to university. There are many jobs and training programs that I couldn't even apply for. Life for me would become a struggle. But since then, imagine if students could get a second chance. So here in our country, our schools are set up like production lines, where students, as you know, have to turn up, where they have to keep up, and they have to shut up. And because our teachers are responsible for hundreds of students and teach up to 30 students at a time, they can't afford to pause or slow down or even speed up that production line for anyone. We still have exams that are sat nationwide by students all across the country. And there's no flexibility in that, and there's definitely no second chances. But what if students could have a second chance at exams? Let's think back to myself and my friend. So she still sails through, she still finds it easy, and she still leaves at the end of year 13 with full qualifications. And I still struggle, I still find it hard, and I still leave at the end of year 10 with no qualifications. But what if this time, if I can go away and when I'm ready, in my own time, get the support that I need, and then later, online, sit the exams and get the qualifications. At anywhere, at any time, from anywhere in the country. 6 years after LearnCoach launched, we have now designed a program and been fully accredited to give those second chances. If you failed your exams because you were off school sick, you can now have a second chance. If you failed your exams because you only cared about sport and you weren't focused, you can now have a second chance. If you failed your exams because you and your partner had a child and you were focused on caring for that child, you can now have a second chance. You can go online, you can learn, and when you're ready in your own time, you can sit the exams and get those qualifications. At any time, at any pace, when you're ready. So what if we lived in a world where our schools and our society embraced that idea of second chances? That idea that even if you've failed, that as soon as you're ready, all you need to do is give the smallest inkling that you want to give it a second chance, and there will be a whole team of people behind you ready to give you that chance that you deserve. We would be bolder, we would be less afraid of failure, and we would be more able to try new things. We would have more people like J.K. Rowling, who despite having her Harry Potter script rejected 10 times, went on to become one of the most successful authors of all time. We would have more people like Walt Disney, who was fired from his job as the editor of a newspaper, told that he had no good ideas and no imagination, who then went on to start the Walt Disney Company and touch millions of people around the world with his animations. We would have more people like the man my grandma helped to read, who went on to get that driver's license and get that promotion at work. You see, when someone is given a second chance, that creates a ripple effect that benefits not only them, but also their families and their communities. And that ripple effect of second chances, that's something really worth getting excited about. Thank you.